This visual novel is absolutely ridiculous. Why would gods want to become idols? Why would they accept terms with the Japanese government to be educated before being integrated into human society? They're gods. Why would they fall in love with this worthless human that we can self-insert into I love you, Shuri?
それは違うと思うよ。もう殺すわよ。
じゃあバトルスタート。
かっこいい。もしかしてスキャンダル冗談なのか。そうだけど。
There are many visual novels that can only be classified as masterpieces. They introduce you to lovable, possibly flawed characters, and over the course of a large, grand-scale adventure filled with success, hardship, and betrayal, your characters evolve and slowly overcome an, at first, seemingly impassable obstacle. When eventually they succeed, credits roll, tears are shed, and said visual novel may leave an unforgettable memory. Wait, where'd my masterpiece go? Love Kami Divinity Stage, and Love Kami in general, is not that type of visual novel, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not a good visual novel. So with that, let's take a look at the world that Love Kami Divinity Stage builds, the characters it introduces, and the story that unfolds. Just as the human race had forgotten how to dream, an event known as the Descent of the Gods occurred. You could probably piece together what this means. As countless gods begin to appear, chaos was imminent, and an abrupt measure was set at a national level to try and keep everyone at peace. The Japanese sun deity Amaterasu came down and declared her wish to teach the gods about the human world, so the Divine Education Act came into place. Our story takes place about a year later, after the gods have had time to interact with and learn about humans. I say gods, but from this point on, we will only see goddesses. The goddesses are nourished by one's Saki Mitama, which gives them Jinriki. Basically, this just means the happier they make humans, the more power they can gain. So, what might be the best way to do that in a modern Japan setting? Well, of course, by being an idol. Not every goddess is interested in becoming an idol known in universe as a divine idol. However, those that are shoot for the top, as the more followers they amass, the more power they get, and thus the better performances they can do. Yeah, we'll talk about the power and balance implications of this in just a moment. Conveniently, during the timeline of this visual novel, one of the most popular idol groups, L7, which consists of the 7 goddesses of luck, has decided to allow another goddess into their group, which is the main context of our story. The first goddess we learn about is Sara Benzaiten, the top goddess in L7. As our currently unnamed protagonist watches in awe at L7's performance broadcast in the middle of Akihabara, we meet Shuri Kishoten via her performance in the middle of the street, which we are also in awe of. Finally, our main protagonist ends up at a goddess cafe, and we meet our last main goddess of this game, Kagura Amausu. We learn from her that goddesses on Earth are Wake Mitama, which is a god's divided spirit that, whilst is influenced by the original god, aren't exact copies. But more importantly, from this encounter, we also learn our main protagonist's name, Yamato Tatsumi. Finally, Yamato heads home to find none other than Sara just trying on some of their family's shop's clothes, which isn't out of the ordinary, as Sara is a family friend and holds a brother-sister-like relationship with Yamato. Completely uncoincidentally, Shuri walks into Yamato's family shop as well, as she is looking to get an idol outfit to increase her chances to qualify for the final audition to be inducted into L7. To qualify for this, they must rank in the top 5 for the current ongoing popularity test. Also, completely uncoincidentally, Kagura just walks in for no particular reason, as she already had an idol outfit. They are both surprised by Sara just casually being there, as well as Yamato, who they had met earlier, and begin to discuss the contest. Yamato nonchalantly suggests the idea of the 2 low-ranked goddesses to team up, and after some bickering and humbling, they decide to do so. Of course, as Kagura's personality is lax and goofy, while Shuri's is more confident and straightforward, Yamato correctly predicts that they'll be clashing quite a bit. However, with Shuri being really good at singing and Kagura being an amazing dancer, they believe they can learn a lot from each other in their duo that they eventually name Love Kami. Of course, Yamato is there every step of the way and even commits to improving his video recording and editing skills so he can portray the goddess group the best he possibly can. It doesn't take long before Kagura and Shuri begin to climb the rankings and slowly approach the top 5 as their skills vastly improve. Of course, with the deadline looming, the goddesses begin to get nervous despite the possibility being high they'll both be in the top 5. On the night of the declaration of the results, Yamato can choose to talk to Shuri, Kagura, or Sara, the only choice of the game, which obviously will lead into each character's respective routes. However, despite the choice, Kagura will rank 5th and Shuri will rank 2nd, assuring that both the goddesses will be able to compete in the final audition. However, a surprise announcement is given stating that Sara is actually leaving L7, and it is discovered that this was the main reason behind the audition in the first place. Following their success, they decide to break up Love Kami as they now both need to focus on themselves. With that in mind, let's jump into each of the characters' routes. Kagura declares that she'll be fine on her own, and thus Yamato and Shuri keep working together to bring her performances to the next level. Shuri's sister is a member of L7, so that keeps her determination resolute. However, her sister was surprised to know that Shuri was trying to become a member of L7. She demands that Shuri drop out of the audition as she isn't strong enough to be able to endure the L7 life. This, of course, only makes Shuri's determination deeper as she wants to prove to her sister that she can succeed at being a divine idol. Shuri overexerts herself to the point of near exhaustion through practice, with Yamato having to come to her rescue. Eventually, she confides in Yamato, and of course, over the time of their training, they fall in love. They briefly have time to go on a date before the date of the final audition, and amongst other affectionate events that occur, Shuri's power has actually grown quite a bit due to Yamato's feelings for her. This culminates into her being able to give an extremely lively performance that was far above each of the other goddesses performing, and secures her spot in L7. Her sister accepts her, and Shuri is launched into stardom, luckily with Yamato taking the place of her manager after much training. Kagura's route is pretty much like Shuri's route in how it starts and how it ends. However, instead, she must face her lack of determination and commitment, which is kind of the opposite of Shuri. After Yamato manages to get Kagura confident in her abilities and determined to become a part of L7, because of course it's her dream, they fall in love, she succeeds, and it's basically the same end as Shuri's. Instead of talking with the goddesses of the hour, we instead talk to the goddess of the last hour. Yamato wanted to know why Sara had decided to quit L7. After bringing him to the roof, she shows him that she can no longer find herself able to sing L7 songs, believing she cannot sing about love as she does not understand it herself. Time passes to the final audition, which Yamato decides to watch from home as he couldn't bear to see Sara retire. Shuri and Kagura unfortunately both do not succeed without help from Yamato, and are furious with him for not coming, though they are sympathetic after hearing his reason. However, Sara is still not happy with him. Time passes, and since Sara has much more free time, she and Yamato go out together more often, leading to Yamato eventually confessing to her, which she accepts despite not exactly understanding how she felt. Meanwhile, Love Kami doesn't break up, so Shuri and Kagura are still together, performing and garnering fame for themselves, of course retaining friendship with Yamato and Sara. When they grow closer, Yamato encourages Sara to put her feelings into song. She begins to write her song digitally, as she believes it is easier to compose a song like this, which I can't help but agree with. She finishes her song and finds herself able to sing it to Yamato, and eventually the route ends with Sara pursuing a solo music career, which everyone is excited for, and a clearly more popular and better than ever Love Kami. I enjoyed Sara's route the most, as it clearly solves everyone's problems besides maybe Shuri and her sister, and has a happy ending for everyone. My second favorite route and favorite character in general is Shuri, as her route is fun to go through despite not having a satisfying conclusion for the other characters. This is mostly the same for Kagura's route, though I feel that whichever route you play first between Shuri and Kagura will be your more favorite route, which I imagine you'll choose based on the character you like more. Sara's route should definitely be played last though, and is a good ending for Love Kami Divinity Stage. In general, this visual novel is pretty standard Eroge, at least from its writing. However, its presentation is definitely its strongest aspect. The art is beautiful, the CGs are plentiful, there are body and mouth animations, and even some special effects here and there. Whilst there are many aspects to a visual novel, Eroge especially needs to be number one in presentation. Besides maybe Nukigae, but that kind of goes hand in hand with Eroge. Except with Nukigae, there's a whole lot more than accidental, ecchi content. Humor me for a moment as I try to take a serious look at the power balance of this world. I realize they are goddesses, I realize this is just a Japanese fantasy Eroge visual novel. But how can this sort of system be fair? I mentioned earlier that the happier they make humans, the more power they get, right? This then results in human fans for a specific divine idol or divine idol group. But once you're on top like L7 with millions of fans, it's practically impossible for competition to arise. More power allows them to do fancy show effects and likely empowers their ability to sing even more, leading to broader appeal and even more fans. This Japanese sun deity really needs to adjust these balancing issues. I never really felt attached to this world of idol goddesses as much as I did with Nekopara, which I feel is the best comparison for a VN like this. The world building is all shoved into the first 20 minutes of the game, which is understandable as that is not the main appeal of this, but it made it harder to really care about a lot of things that were happening. Which isn't to say I didn't like the characters, but there wasn't anything too special about them either. Voice actresses typically bring their characters to life, which is why I like them, at least in this visual novel. But again, the characters themselves weren't too interesting. The music is good. It's not great, and there wasn't a specific track that I found that I really liked, but there weren't any bad tracks either. The voiced songs were probably the best and most catchy, but those are typically only used for intros and endings, which is exactly the case here. I find it really unfortunate when a visual novel doesn't have at least a few really good background tracks, because it can really transform a reading experience. Of course, I realize that again, this is an Eroge, but that doesn't mean you can't have some banger tracks too. One thing I always appreciate about these games is that their option menus are usually pretty detailed. There isn't a chest bounciness setting like a Nekopara, but if we're all being honest, it was never really a setting, and I think it's set to about what the average reader would have put it on anyway. I enjoyed my time with Love Kami Divinity Stage. I don't like to play too many short slice of life style Eroges back to back, but every now and then it's nice to turn my brain off, and this visual novel allowed me to do just that. The game is $14 Canadian, which is probably too much. You probably get around 8 hours of content if you complete every route, but the average quality of it makes it difficult to recommend at its base price. However, it routinely goes on sale, so if this is something you're interested in, I recommend purchasing it then. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. It means so much to me that despite my recent absence again, I've been still getting subs and comments, and I'm going to try my best to put up some more content consistently from now on. It seems that I usually get burnt out after 8 episodes, so this time we're trying for 9. Wish me luck. Of course, if you're interested in more visual novel content, please let me know what you want to see. I picked up some visual novels based on some comments already, and I have so much footage to work with that I hope I can satisfy everyone with at least one of their favorite visual novels soon. And I guess, like this video and subscribe if you haven't already, I don't know, bye bye.